TruVue Podcast.
A bunch of different views.
Them boys keep it real, man. I really like listening to them, man. They funny. Yeah.
Son.
You know what I'm saying?
They really speak their truth.
What the hell was that?
You're.
What it do? What the business is? What is good? It's your boy Mel, and we are back in the building again, bringing that barbershop to the box office, baby. TruVue Podcast. You know what it is. Let's get it. Let's go. Woo-hoo, let's get it.
Yo, I am hyphen X, man. Thank y'all for tuning in with us here at the TruVue. Alley to my guy.
What's going on, people? It's your boy Zoe. We in the building for another one, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. We about to get to it.
You already know what it is. Once again, thanks again for tuning in. It's grown man MJ in the place to be. And we got somebody with us. Let them know who it is.
So what's up? My name is Louis. Go by Lou. Say anything. I'm a film and TV producer. I'm happy to be here. Talk some shit. Chop it up with y'all.
There you have it. There you go. He's selling himself short though. We gonna dive into it, man. I know they like, who is this motherfucker? We gonna get into it, y'all. But before we do that, cheers, gentlemen. Salute, everybody. Something don't matter what it is. Bam, there you go. Yes. All right, man. Let's dive into it, man. Lou, tell us your origin story, man. Tell us how you got started. Then we'll build up to where you at, and then we'll go from there.
That it actually it was a pivot in a sense. I started out in music. I kind of grew up singing and writing music and shit like that. So
okay.
I always saw myself in entertainment, but I thought that would be the route that I would take. So for undergrad, I went to an HBCU in Holly Springs, Mississippi, called Rush College. And I studied, I declared my major as music. And then I started my major classes and I hated it.
Damn.
It was one of the things where it was like, I was starting to do shit just because it was like required for school, but it wasn't things that I was connected to, things that I was passionate about, trying to hit deadlines and fighting against like creative block and all of that shit. It was one of those things where music had always been my outlet, had always been the way that I found release. But now it's the thing that's stressing me the fuck out. So it's like, now how do I separate the two? It's like I can't, the thing that I turn to release stress can't be the thing that stresses me out, because then I won't have anything else to turn to. So I was like, I got to keep those things separate. So I ended up changing my major to communications, and that's kind of how I got introduced to TV and like, video production and shit like that. But even then, it still wasn't like very clear. I wasn't very clear on what I wanted to do, but I knew that I liked being in that realm. And so I started out doing like music videos for like, local artists and, up and coming rappers and shit like that. And I started to I enjoyed doing it, but it got to a point where I started to feel stagnant with it. So I was like, I know I like doing this, but I no longer feel like I'm growing or learning anything new. So I ended up changing my production company that I established in undergrad from like a video production company to a film and television production company. And so for grad school, I went to like a performing arts school and studied producing for film and television, man. And it just kind of took off from there, bro.
Man, that's what's up.
That's weird.
Now, I'm gonna go back. How many mixtapes did you drop?
So
It's a great question.
So man, I actually did not release any music at that point in my life. Where I grew up was this really, really small town in Texas called Marlin. It's about 25 minutes from Waco, Texas. But it's one of those places where, man, like the same like 10, 11 people you start kindergarten with are the same 10, 11 people you graduate high school with. So it's very, very small, very rural. It didn't really have those types of resources to like really pursue it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when my family and I moved to Seattle, by that point, I started to like record music, but I found myself writing music for other artists more than like recording myself. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that like I couldn't afford a studio. My parents both work and support anything that I do, but I knew they couldn't really afford to pour into it at that time. They couldn't really afford to pour into it like that. And so the way that I supplemented it was I would still scratch that creative itch by writing, but I would write for other artists. And so
Gotcha.
even now I still do that, but I don't really pursue it professionally. And,
I got a couple questions on that.
Yeah.
When you wrote for other artists, were they R&B, hip hop?
Mostly R&B.
Okay.
I'm a singer. I'm a singer more than I am like a rapper, like a hip hop artist. But I think that was part of the challenge as well, is just trying to find that versatility and trying to find ways to extend myself beyond what I knew. And so I definitely like the challenge of writing raps and shit, even though I wasn't a rapper or this type of artist. But yeah, man, that was kind of the route for that.
So go ahead, man.
Go ahead, man. I got a couple more music questions.
Oh no, you better do that. I'm finna change the trajectory. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, being able to do that right for other artists and also having, an artistic pen in music, is that same pen used in your writing for your movies or in films, or is it a different pen?
It really is a different pen, only because in the sense of storytelling, it's the same. Like you want your music to tell a story and not just be a bunch of dumb shit, right? But in terms of like films, you're building a world and building people in it. So yeah, there's a lot more that goes into like if I hear a beat, I can just hear a beat and just like kind of build a story on it. But when I write a movie, I got a board right here. Matter of fact, I don't know if I can pull this up real quick, but I got a board right here where you just see, this is a movie that I'm currently writing, and you just kind of see all of the plot points and shit like that. So it's a little storyboard. Yeah, storyboard and shit, just, getting out those story beats and making sure that we're hitting important moments when they're supposed to happen in the film. And so it's a little bit different of a process in terms of how it's created. But in the sense of, I want any art piece that I put out to tell a story, it aligns exactly the same. Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yes.
What R&B group or artist would you compare your directing style to?
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a dope question. Yeah.
You know what, man? Damn, that's a good one. I never even really thought about that before, man.
I know you haven't, but I'm forcing you to answer.
Yeah. I would probably have to say, to my directing style, I would probably have to say, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm stuck, bro. I'm stuck because of the way that I direct is like I'm very particular about like little details and shit. So when I think about like R&B artists, I would probably have to say Usher, in a sense to where like I feel like he's an artist that allows himself to grow in his work, and he's an artist that allows his vulnerabilities to show, like even with Confessions, just kind of telling his story and his flaws and not trying to paint this perfect picture, but also being very intentional about his wording and the way that he puts, releases his music and the way that he puts details into his music videos and shit like that. I think I would probably say is the way that I work as well. I don't try to be a perfectionist. I allow things to reflect the times and how I feel in that time. But I do that intentionally. I try to make sure that it reflects exactly how I'm feeling, and sometimes it might not be perfect, and just allowing that to reflect. And then that way, when I'm out of that time, or when I'm out of that moment, out of that period, I'm able to look back on it and reflect, and it's a perfect representation of who I was at that time versus who I am now. You know, even when I look at some of my earlier films and some of my earlier work, it's like, damn, bro, I really thought that was it at that time, but that is what it was, you know, but I'm just not there no more. I've outgrown it. And so now when I look back on it, I'm like, damn, this is trash. But it's like, it's not trash. That's just that's where you were in that moment. That's what the time, that's the time in that moment. So it's really allowing myself to just kind of exist in that space right there.
That's what's up. I thought you was gonna say because you roll on set, you be like,
And we'll be getting in the director's chair, kicking his shoes off and stuff.
I'll be killing big time. I'll be killing big time, man.
Now, I was gonna ask, so with you switching your major like that, and how did mom and dad take that?
You know, bro, I feel like I really lucked out when it came to like my parents and shit, because they have always been two of the absolute biggest supporters of mine, man. It was like no matter what journey I was on, no matter what I was pursuing, or any of my siblings, like anything that we're pursuing, they really just pour into us, man, as much as they possibly can. And like I said, when I was growing up, now it's a little bit of a different situation, like they said now, but when I was growing up, they didn't necessarily have all of the financial resources, and so they made up for it with the love and the moral support, and trying to put us in as many positions as we could possibly be in to make shit happen. You know, and even if they don't particularly like something that we're doing, they still support us in our journey and trying to figure it out by offering advice and by doing this and doing that, but they never get in the way or try to block us from doing anything or making our own decisions and shit like that, man. So but my parents are actually flying out here from Seattle tomorrow. They getting ready to go on a cruise, and they're leaving out of Long Beach, and so I'm gonna get to kick it with them for a few hours. But yeah, man, they've always been my biggest supporters, man, even to this day.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
There are 7 of us total, and I'm right in the middle.
7, okay.
I got three older and 3 younger, and I'm right in the middle.
Man.
Your siblings involved in your movies at all, creative process at all?
Not really, man. Everybody, and I think that's why our relationship is as strong as it is, because everybody has their own wave and we all support each other's ventures. And so I have my sister, who's closest to me in age. She just released her first mixtape, and she also isn't, but she's on the rapping side. And she just released a mixtape called "Pimpin' Ain't Dead," and and she talking her shit, like she real deal talking her shit. And it's been one of those things where,
hey, shout out to sis, man. Don't be scared to say her name, dog. We gonna look her up.
Yeah, put it out there.
Yeah, what's her name?
Her name Baby Trey. It's her mixtape right here called "Pimpin' Ain't Dead." I don't know if y'all can see this shit. Let me get that reflection right.
Yeah.
Pimpin' Ain't Dead, man. It's a 7-track mixtape with the ending track being the title of the album, Pimpin' Ain't Dead, man. So you know what I'm saying, she talk her shit in there, she do her thing. But even with that, you know, it was the same thing. We didn't necessarily have the resources to get in the studio, but she always had a journal just jotting shit down. And I think, you know, as we got older and, you know, she got married and started having kids and things like that, you know, there were some things that kind of happened as we were growing up. I ended up losing a sibling to gun violence. And there was a lot of things that kind of just got in the way of certain shit. And so she kind of stepped away from it a little bit. And I think at a certain point, she started to, I wouldn't say doubt herself, but, you know, it's that age thing. As you get older and if certain shit ain't happened yet, you kind of start to believe that it won't happen. But she was like, fuck that. And she, you know, she was constantly writing, constantly putting shit out. And even when TikTok kind of first started, like she would start out just by like hopping on beats that were already there and just like making remixes and shit, putting them on TikTok. And she started getting a little bit of traction. And she was like, okay, maybe it ain't too late. Let me hop in the studio. You know what I'm saying? So she, you know, back to the drawing board, back with pen in hand, man. And now she got her first mixtape out. And so And she's getting a lot of traction on it too. So it's one of those things where same thing with her. You know, it was something where she didn't necessarily have the resources, but she found a way to make it work, and she got back to what she wanted to do. And you know, for me, it was particularly with music. I definitely would still be pursuing it if I knew that it wouldn't make me hate it the way that I know it will. And I'm not willing to. It's one of those friends where it's like where you got like a good homegirl. It's like y'all got a good friendship, and you don't want to fuck, even though you want to. You won't fuck because you value.
I don't know nothing.
I don't know, man.
All I know is my wife. All I know, I don't know nobody.
All right, I mean, it's one of those things, man, where I'm like, I treat music as that same relationship. It's like I value it too much to cross a certain boundary, and I just feel like, man, there's going to be so many things coming at me that's going to take me out of just the enjoyment of it. But for her, it's a completely different experience. This is her happy place. This is where she finds her, you know, that's her sanctuary. So, you know, she found a way to, you know, to make that shit happen for her. I got you know, my older brother, he's a designer. He has his own clothing line, like a t-shirt. He like designs his own like shirts and shit. My younger sister, not the youngest, but my younger sister, is studying to be like a designer. She makes her own clothes and shit. So everybody kind of got their own shit.
Damn, man, that's what's up.
But we also
all got an artistic way. Zoe, sound like you better get in before it happened, though.
Oh yeah.
For
You
sure.
know, with Sus, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah, he's a producer. He's big time.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I showed man.
She hit me up a few days ago and was like, "I need you to shoot one of my music videos." And I'm like, "I'm not a camera. Like I'm not the one that's gonna physically hold the camera, but I can produce it. I can direct it. I can get you a cinematographer and you know, kind of help you flush out the creative element of it." But you know, she tagged me. There was this picture of Aiden and Willow Smith. And she gonna tag me in the comments talking about this could be us, but you playing. I'm like, bro, you still fucking.
But you talking about when they was on stage and he was telling her like, yeah, at Coachella, I think it was.
Yeah, but she just tagged me in that shit too, man. Yesterday.
Man, you gotta drop her music on some of the movies, man.
Right.
You know, honestly, so if she had music, because her EP just dropped like two maybe 3 weeks ago. But if her music was ready at the time that we were getting ready to release the film, because actually with Forbidden Fruit, I was, you know, like I said, I'm very intentional about the details and shit that I put into the work. For this film, I wanted to work with nothing but independent artists, and so every artist that was that's in the movie is like an indie artist, except for one. But even then, he's one of my best friends, and so my homie just listen. He signed to Mace, and so we use some of his music in the film. But every other artist that's in there is friends that I knew from like college or growing up, and I'm just like, yo, I got this movie coming out. It could be a great opportunity, and people just started submitting shit. But I was like, if I'm being placed in a position to bring myself up, I'm not gonna go and blast music of niggas that's already out and popping. It's like I want to bring people up with me. So it was one of those things where it was a no-brainer. Like it was a no-brainer. But like I said, at that particular time, she didn't have the EP done, and so with our next project, we're currently the one that I just showed you guys on the board. We're working on that right now, and you know, God willing, everything works out with that. That'll be another opportunity for her, you know, for me to be able to collaborate, you know, with my family and you know, kind of bring that up. But yeah, man, yeah, it was only because she didn't have anything out at that time. But you know, if she was ready, man, that would have been. Here go this shit right here, bro. This picture right here, man. So that's the Smith. Yeah. It's like this could be us, but you playing. I'm like, bro, chill out, man.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. Right. Yeah, I'm always, you know, support anything that anybody that I love or care about. If you're doing something, I'm gonna find a way to support it, man. Like I said, my brother T-shirt line. I was like, I myself am not necessarily like a graphic tee type guy. I'm a little bit more, I like getting a little bit more dressy. contrary to what I'm wearing now. But I
mean, you are in LA, you know.
yeah. But you know, I tend a little bit. I tend to be a little bit more like dressed up than like graphic tees and shit like that. And so, but I still got to support my brother. So what I did was purchase 20 shirts from him and allowed him to give them away as like a contest so that he can promote his social media pages. So you got 20 shirts that you paid for. You put it on some shit where it's like you want to win a free shirt, tag 2 friends and follow our page, like our page, and so it was still a way to support, even if it's not something that I wear or use directly. You know what I'm saying? So
and you get on a marketing tool.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's make it, because it could have been so. Even when I bought them, I was like, yeah, just like donate them or something. Then I like an hour later, I'm like, fuck that, don't donate them. Find a way to like
market. Love it.
Now I got a question. It seems like all of you all have kind of like artistic niche kind of to yourselves. Is that something your parents influenced? Were they kind of artistic, or were they 9-to-5ers that just kind of pushed you all to be, you know, chasers of your dream?
Yeah, my parents are the complete opposite, man.
Okay.
My parents are very like business focused, and you know they're definitely in the more traditional ways of you know, sustaining a family and making a living. But I also think that was because they had to be. You know what I'm saying? Like when you got kids,
no doubt.
You know, my dad my dad is a chef. He's a really good cook. You know, he always has.
That's a creative. That's a creative
right there.
Yeah.
So with that, keeping that in mind, he always kind of had this dream of opening his own restaurant, but he gets a pretty good paying job with another restaurant that's already out, and so he's not necessarily getting a chance to express himself through his cooking the way that he normally would, because he's following someone else's recipes and their protocol and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Paid, he makes money. He's good. He can support his family, but you know, it was that sacrifice that he gave. And you know, my mom, she's creative in a sense to where like she likes to make like a lot of her own decorations at her house.
Hey. My name grown man MJ on this pod for a reason. You ain't gonna play mom short. She had to dress 7 days. All right. She had to figure out 7 outfits daily. All right. The woman is creative. All right. You can't.
No, and that's why I have to correct myself real quick, because she does have a way of expressing her creativity, you know, in her way. But in terms of just like what they pour into, it's mainly how can we provide for our kids and our family, and so
and facilitate their dreams.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, what they're
going. My mom tells me all the time, man, I'm living vicariously through you. She tells me that. I've heard that so many times, man, and it's, you know, I don't think I paid attention to what that meant until I paid attention to the amount of sacrifice that they gave for us to be able to pursue it. And so, yeah, man, they definitely poured as much as they, or at least from my perspective. I can't speak for my other siblings. I feel like everybody got their own, you know, interpretation of what it was. But for me, I
y'all know the middle child got the juice, dog. No?
Yeah. The glue. But yeah, man, I feel like they did as much as they could, even if it meant sacrificing their own dreams and their own, you know, artistic abilities and the need to want to exercise those artistic abilities. So yeah, man.
So after you switch your major, what was your first big project? Did it come after graduation? Did it come during graduation?
So the first big project actually, so I have produced some like school shit, like not it wasn't career shit. It was stuff for school. It was stuff
right. I got you.
When I
an assignment, yeah.
Yeah, it was an assignment. It was an assignment. When I graduated from undergrad, I go to a performing arts school for my master's. And the project that I developed as my thesis project ultimately became the film that BET acquired.
Nice.
So it was the structure was there, the frame was there, but like the characters were different, like the story beats were different. Like, the only thing that was the same is that there's a preacher's daughter that has cancer. I mean, there's a preacher that has cancer, and his daughter becomes a stripper to help support his medical bills and shit. That was pretty much
God. Praise God.
Right. But it was completely different. It was complete, like the characters, like they were all developed completely different. But it started with that. And I had to, as part of my thesis, I had to shoot like a proof of concept trailer as part of the overall project. So that was one element of the entire project. Well, after I graduated, again at that time, I'm like, it's just a school project. I just needed to graduate. I'm not really looking to pursue it outside of school. So after I graduated, I posted the proof of concept trailer on my old Facebook page, and it went viral. And I was like, all right, well, shit, maybe I should go back to the drawing board, flesh it out a little bit more, and really get it to something, palatable. And so I ended up deleting the trailer and was like, okay, maybe I should, pursue it. So I kind of pour into that for about another year or so. We get the funding. So we used that proof of concept trailer that went viral. We used that to secure the funding to shoot the actual project. And so we filmed it, and then, like I said, the pandemic hit, so we were sitting on it for like 2.5 years before we can, edit or, do any of that shit. And so it started to get to a point where I'm like, okay, maybe it's not the timing isn't right. So, I was getting ready to shelf it, and then as soon as I got ready to, we make the deal. So it was like, bro, the time, everything, like timing just like worked out perfectly, man. Worked out perfectly.
That is what's
That's
up.
awesome.
And so for that to be kind of like the first, even though I before Forbidden Fruit came out, so we shot it in 2020, but it didn't come out until this year. So for the past 3 years, I've been actively working, but I've been producing, like I produced a show for like HBO, for A&E, like I was working on other shit. But
shows out, man. What you got? What shows were you working on?
Oh yeah, so there's a show on HBO Max called About Last Night with Steph and Aisha Curry. I was a producer on that. There's a show on A&E called Shipping Wars. I was a producer on that. I co-executive produced a show for Twitch last year, and we actually might be getting renewed for season 2.
Oh damn!
So we should be finding that out over the next few days or so. But I've worked on like Top Chef. There's this game show called
You got to eat the food.
Huh?
Did you get to eat the food from Top Chef as you produce?
Yeah, so with Top Chef, it was one of those shows where it works like a restaurant.
Great
so
question.
Every week they gotta bring in new ingredients. So whenever they bring in fresh ingredients, all of the shit that's in the fridge, they was just letting us take home. So every week, bro, I'm coming home with fillets and T-bone steaks, king crab head, big ass salmon, bro. They was loading us
business.
Man. And even when we wrapped, like the production staff ended up ordering too many like gadgets and shit. So like they was giving us like air fryers and like kitchen. Bro, it was crazy, man. Crazy.
I would have been in there like, y'all ain't shitting on my dad though. My dad fuck y'all up in here.
Man. So we couldn't eat any of the food that was prepared for the show itself.
Right.
But production paid for a caterer for us, for the crew, and then we also got to take ingredients home every week. And so man, they were
oh man,
that's
I'm so happy you brought this up. I've heard nothing but wonderful tales about the catering on these sites. Can you please just tell me what was like the best spread that you had versus the worst spread?
Boy, you brought up food. That man got hacked.
The best. I worked on this show for Facebook Watch, and it was with Taraji P. Henson. I think this was actually my favorite show in general, outside of my own shit. But with the food specifically, Taraji would have her. So the show was called Peace of Mind by Taraji. It was a show for Facebook Watch that focused on like mental health in the Black community.
Okay.
Like well, Taraji had her own private chef. Her name was Monday. She would come to set every day, and I don't quite know how this happened, but like Monday and I was like vibing. Not only like, but she was just cool. Like she was cool as fuck. So anytime she would cook for Taraji, she would throw some extra shit on the grill, bro, or whatever she was cooking, she would make sure I had some, man. And so I wasn't even eating the shit that like production was bringing in. I was eating the shit that Taraji's.
Yeah, boy.
Best food in the fucking world, bro. Yeah, so her shit was good. I think my least favorite, I would probably have to say this most. Damn, fuck.
It's the food. It wasn't the job.
Way back in the day.
It's the food, not the job. I'm gonna start by saying
it's the food, not the job.
I would probably have to say this last show that I co-executive produced for Twitch that might be getting picked up for season 2. But that's only because it was a show that toured, it traveled, and so we weren't at like that. We were in a new city like every day, and so every day we eating at a new restaurant, and you know every restaurant don't have good food, and so it was a show that traveled, and so because it traveled, we didn't have like a catering team. We were just eating at whatever restaurant was near our hotel. And sometimes, you know, that became a little bit repetitive, or sometimes the food just wasn't good, or by the time it made it to the hotel, it was cold, or it just wasn't.
Yeah, no control. Yeah.
Right. And so it was one of those things where, actually, I'm gonna take that back. The project before that, I was working in the Hamptons. I was working in New York in the Hamptons. We're out there for 2 months. 2 months. And every single day we ate at the same restaurant for the entire 2 months we were there. It's this restaurant called DeMarc's Cafe. And it was
Did it start off fire?
No, it was never good.
Damn.
It was never good.
Damn.
And what was frustrating about it was when I first got there, the production company that I was working for, their higher ups were like hyping that restaurant up. They were like, "Oh yeah, DeMarc's is amazing. Like we have a great relationship."
They had a business account over there.
Yeah. We have a great relationship with them.
Food is straight trash, man. So it was one of those things where, like, even like basic shit like hamburgers, bro, just weren't good, bro. It's like they didn't have like the patties that it was like the patties that you like, the frozen patties that you get, and when you cook them, they still like those thick ass patties, you know. Like it just it wasn't good.
No, it's like no effort, zero effort
at all, bro. The only thing that was like good was like the French fries, bro. Like that was really the only thing that was.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
So Forbidden Fruit wasn't necessarily something that was intentional from the start. It became intentional with the viral moment.
Essentially, yeah. It was intentional. It was intentional in the sense of like I got to get it done for school, but I had at that time I had no plans on pursuing it outside of school. For me it was another school project, and I knew that it was a good story, but I think at that particular time, like I'm fresh out of grad school. I don't really have, at this time, I don't have credits under my belt. And so there was a lot of like self-doubt a little bit. And so I was like, I don't know if this is the one that I want to like launch my career. You know what I'm saying? So it was.
I'm listening to that, but I'm hearing like, yo, like, I wasn't even coming all the way with this one. I'm finna come, you know what I'm saying? I'm finna come hard with my next piece.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of helping build anticipation for me to see the next joint too.
Yeah. And so it was definitely one of those things where I'm like, when I saw how people were responding to it, then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not as far off the mark as I thought I was going to be. And so I think that's what it was. I don't know if it was me not wanting to do it. It was me not having the confidence in myself that it would be received well. And because of that, I didn't want to put myself in that vulnerable spot. And so it was when I realized that people was like, oh shit, is this real? Like when is it coming out or what network? I was like, okay, so maybe we do got something. Maybe. So yeah, once I had that confidence, I was like, oh yeah, we finna go good. We finna go up. But Oh yeah, man.
That's what's up, man. And that was the first question I asked you when we first hopped on here. I was like, man, how you like what? You gonna leave us with a cliffhanger? And it was only out. You could have gave me 15 more minutes or something, man. Like, come on, bro. It was an hour 15.
What's crazy is if we had kept everything that we wrote, it would have been down to 2 hours. But the thing is, when we edited into a feature, it didn't work the same way as a show. So there were some scenes that we had to cut out to make it flow as a movie. And so there was about a good like 20 to 25% of scenes that were cut out from what was originally written.
Okay.
So, and then even,
No, I was saying, I know originally you were saying it was you were looking for it to hit Quibi.
Yeah. So we developed it as a digital series, and I think the reason why, I was excited about doing it that way was because typically when you think of like short series or like mini series, you kind of think of like low budget, low quality, or like student film or you don't really take it seriously, right? So when you have a platform that has quality level, like Netflix quality work, but that's designed to be watched in like 10 to 15 minutes, I was like, yo, this is something that has never really been explored before. And I think it'll be a good way to shed new light on like what short form content can be. It's not always going to look low budget. It's not always going to look low quality. Sometimes you got some high quality shit, but you just, especially with the way people's attention span is these days, and like how media is being consumed, and like everybody's like watching shit on their phone and on their tablets now. Like niggas really don't just be at the house watching TV as much as we used to, like when we had cable, everybody streaming on their phone. So with that in mind, like Quibi could have worked if they just, what happened is the pandemic hit in February or March, and then they launched in April.
And I think,
yeah, go ahead, man.
Go ahead and finish. I think we're on the same way.
Yeah, I was just saying, because of that, like if the pandemic is here and you haven't launched yet, I feel like there could have been somebody on their team that's like, maybe we should push this back. But I understand when you got investors and you got shit and people that you got to pay back, it might not be that simple. But I think, it was really just the time of the pandemic. It's something that's designed. If you're hopping on the train to go from Hollywood to downtown LA for work, something you can just watch on your way to work real quick, right? But niggas going to work, everybody's at home on the couch watching Netflix and Hulu and HBOMax, and this is also the time where all of these other networks and studios are dropping their own streaming platforms. So now you got Disney Plus and Peacock, and you got all of these other pluses and BET Plus and like all this other shit now, because that was the move, but that was only because the pandemic shifted things that way. And Quibi kind of just got lost in that wave, and I don't think that they really had their yeah.
No, I think you're exactly right with that point. But another point with the Quibi and the short form content, it's gonna only spread through word of mouth. And because we were all in the house, it was kind of hard to show somebody at the break room, like, yo, look at this real quick, this 10-minute film, like you can go home and watch the rest for yourself and download it all together, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
We kind of missed that whole wave with that app. I know Mel was jumping on it for a minute, but we even talked about doing some shows off of it, but then it shut down like shortly after that. So we left it alone.
I got a question for you.
The Most Dangerous Game, bro. I was like, yo, the concept
that shit was fire.
Yeah, bro. And I'm like, ain't no way this little 6-minute episode got me on the edge of my seat. Like, oh, fuck, what's happening?
I did see that that Kevin Hart one that was on there, it ended up, I forgot who picked it up, but they released it as a regular series.
Yeah. And there were some
Netflix, I think.
Yeah, there were actually quite a few shows that were acquired by other networks and shit. I just think it's unfortunate for the platform, just because it wasn't really anything that was in their control. It was just the world shifted in the way they didn't anticipate. You know what I'm saying? And so we initially shot Forbidden Fruit. We wrote and filmed it in the format to go on Quibi. So Quibi, you couldn't have episodes any longer than like a certain amount of time. And so after it shut down, for us, it was like, Netflix doesn't want a 10-minute show, Hulu doesn't want a 10-minute show. Like there was no credible networks that we were interested in that would take short form content. Everybody wanted like a 30-minute sitcom or an hour drama or whatever. So our only option at that point was like release it on YouTube, but then it was like, how do we recoup our money? How do we recoup our investment and shit like that?
Yeah.
And so then when we started to communicate with Paramount and BET, they were like, we like the story, we like the concept, but it needs to make sense for the platform. So is there a way that you guys can take the footage that you film and just re-edit it into a movie? And so that's how we came with the feature that we have now. But that's why it ends the way that it is, because way that it did, because we had to do a cliffhanger for season 2, but now it's a movie. So now, but I didn't want it to be some shit where we release it and then the fans are like, these niggas do not know how to write a movie. Like, I wanted the audience to know that we are aware that there is more to the story. We just gotta get to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, let's put to be continued on the end, and let's make it happen. And so, yeah, man, that's how we came up with Forbidden Fruit the movie instead of the show.
Nah, that's what's up. I'm definitely looking forward to that, man.
And I'm really excited about part 2, man, because I don't want to give away any spoilers for people who hadn't watched it yet. But there are so many. I mean, as you know, there are so many things that we gotta answer and explore, even from the pastor's background and his past and his connection to the club and all of that shit. And so, the mom, the preacher's daughter's mom, she thinks that her mom died in a car crash, but she still doesn't know how her mom really died and who was involved in it. And it's just a lot of shit. He still doesn't know his daughter danced there. Nobody knows that this nigga got shot except the pastor, so she still doesn't know. The family still doesn't know. It's just a lot of shit that we got to unpack, man. And I'm excited to get to work on that one, man. So
that's what's up, man. I said, yeah, everybody was lying to everybody in that damn house.
Man, whole time. Shit crazy.
Yeah, he kind of answered. I was gonna ask you, can you kind of elaborate how COVID kind of touched, in the creative realm? What did you have to do to kind of adjust?
It was tough, man. Because what ended up happening is, I don't know about Atlanta, but particularly here in LA, for whatever reason, all of the scripted productions has shut down. But all of the unscripted shit, for whatever reason, was still in production. Like, so for me, it was like, you either got to sit at home and not do nothing, or you got to still find a way to move and navigate inside the industry. So during the pandemic, I found myself working on a lot more unscripted shows than like scripted shit. So like at that time, I'm working on, like I said, the show with Taraji P. Henson and the show with Steph and Aisha Curry, the show, Top Chef, and I did a show with Offset for another show with Offset for HBOMax called The Hype. It was like a streetwear competition show.
Okay.
I worked on that, and so I found myself in the unscripted space a lot more, but it's because that's where the work was at the time. And so now that, but also that kind of worked in my benefit, because what it ultimately ended up doing was just making me a more rounded producer. Now instead of just having experience in scripted, I now have experience in unscripted. And even within unscripted, I have talk show, I have variety show, I have competition show, I have traveling show, I have all of these different types of formats under my belt now. And so even though it seemed unfortunate in that moment, ultimately it really kind of boosted my resume a little bit, because it shows I can step into a different field, like different areas within the job, and do them all just as well, and if not better. So it was yeah, man. And it also just kind of showed me my abilities to like prove some shit to myself. Like, I think stepping into it,
That part.
yeah, I definitely had like a lot of what we call imposter syndrome. Like, why me? Why am I here? I'm not qualified enough. But it's like, nigga, you just showed yourself. You keep showing yourself that you are. Why do you keep going against it? And so,
believe it. Believe it.
Yeah.
BET just picked up your assignment, my guy.
My thesis project.
Yeah.
Some shit that I created when I was 22 22, 23 years old, bro.
Like word.
now has global distribution, bro. Like that is the. I'm still not used to like going on Twitter and seeing people talking about it. People I've never met, people who don't even know I exist, talking about some shit that I created when I was like 23, bro. Like it's man, it's crazy.
That's what's up. Now,
Oh, what a fun.
you might be able to help with this because we bring it up on the show all the time. In writing, is there a box check? Like, is there certain things that have to be
essentially there? And even with that, I think that there's more and more projects that there's this kind of rule that a lot of screenwriters use, and it's just like a basic 3-act structure. And so you kind of want, by a certain page number, you have to hit your inciting incident. So by the way that typically, not always, but the way that films are like measured is like a minute per page. So if you have a 120 page script, it's gonna be a 2-hour movie. If you got a 60 page script, it's gonna be an hour movie, so on and so forth. So by page like 37 or so within the first like 35 to 37 minutes, you want your inciting incident to happen. And that inciting incident is the thing that sends your protagonist on their journey.
okay?
And so, you know, whatever movie it is, it's like something happens. This is their everyday life. Something happens that sends them on this journey, right? And then the second, so after that inciting incident happens, their journey starts. That's the start of the second act. And then by the time you get to the end of the second act into your third act, that's when the climax should be happening.
Right.
And so that's what kind of sends your character on like the height or whatever their journey is to self-discovery, whatever the fuck it is, and then coming down with your closing at the end of the third act. So that's kind of like the structure that people follow typically.
Mm-hmm.
But there are projects that kind of even rearrange how that structure happens. And you know, there's projects where you start at the end and then throughout the film or throughout the show, you're going back and revisiting into how you led up to the spot. Like that what's that? 13 Reasons Why.
Okay.
Like the girl's already dead. We don't see she's already dead. So we're already at this point. And then we're going back and we're reviewing all the shit that happened. Right. And so there are a lot of projects that kind of step away from that 3-act structure rule that still work. But I think just starting off as a screenwriter, that's a good rule to follow just because it teaches you just how a movie flows in general. And then once you're comfortable with that, then you can start playing around and adding your own razzle-dazzle and all that extra shit. But I think when you're starting off, that's a good structure to follow.
Okay. Within the structure, is there an agenda checkbook?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, or at least that hadn't been my experience. I don't think I can really answer for any other screenwriters, but for me, not necessarily. I think there have been times where, like, I'll kind of know where I want to go, but I don't know how to get there. So what I'll do is I'll start at the end of the movie, and then I'll kind of work backwards. So I'm like, okay, I know that this is how I want the movie to end. In order for this to happen, this has to happen. Here, this has to happen. Then I kind of work my way back up. There's times where I have a very clear idea and I can just go and jot shit down and it just flows. Sometimes it's sometimes it's not even the story that blocks me creatively. It's the character and developing them as real people and making their existence make sense, and not only make sense but make sense in this world. Like, why are they here? I don't want people to just be there. I want people to serve a purpose. And even if the audience, like Forbidden Fruit, I have a character in there who plays the bartender. Yep. And she, in part 1, she's introduced, but it won't be until part 2 where her character is really utilized and you see what right. So it's one of those things where like everything needs to be there for a reason and not just be there. It needs to either be building the story or building the world. And if it's not, it shouldn't be on screen. It shouldn't be in your script. And so I think in terms of like like boxes that I gotta hit, those are usually just like the ones that
you have a certain amount of females. You gotta have like the one white guy. You can't have this many. One of the characters has to be homosexual. This
right? Yeah, Not necessarily. Like they're definitely. I think the reason why we see a lot of that now is just because inclusion and diversity is just pushed as a thing so much. But when you think about it, man, there are so many movies and shit where it's just like nothing but white people, or there's movies where, you know, Baby Boy. I don't remember seeing a white person the entire. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing a white person in the entire Baby Boy movie, like the entire time.
I think it was an extra, but he was walking.
Yeah, like walking in the background, some shit. But in terms of niggas on camera talking with lines and shit, but that's because this is the experience of the people that it's from their perspective, and these are the people that are around them. When you look at film, you know, there's just certain films or certain projects where it is shot in like a certain region, and so if it makes sense to have these people there, I think, you know, just in media and like in film, especially like American films now, just because like inclusion is such a big thing now and such a big cause. Nobody wants to be accused of only making this type of movie or only hiring this type of person. And so, you know, for me personally, I don't necessarily always have to have, you know, a white character or a gay character or this or that. You know, if it makes but there are also some roles where it doesn't, like there's a role that can be played by a guy or a girl or a man, like any race. It doesn't, like some roles it needs to be a man, some roles it needs to be a female, but some roles it's like they're just kind of like a supporting character, so it can be played by anybody.
Gotcha.
So I think a lot of filmmakers kind of use that as a way to kind of
quiet the
inclusion in there.
What I get from it, what he's saying is, as far as box checking, is more his creative process as far as the technicality of putting together the film.
Yeah.
Right. Now there are some instances where, like for instance, if you're trying to get there are like certain like grants and shit like that where they're like, this grant is for like minority or like Asian filmmakers or like women directors, and so the film needs to be directed by a woman, or or you know, like LGBT grants and shit. The lead has to be, you know, part of the LGBT community or something like that. But those are for specific reasons. But in general, it's usually just a creative choice. There's really nothing that's making anyone say, "Oh, I need this in there, I need that in there." I think it really just comes down to people not wanting to seem like they're like they don't want to be seen as that filmmaker that only hires this type of person. It's like, you know, when you in the world that we live in now with like social media and, you know, cancel culture and like all that shit, you know, it's one of those things where inclusion is one of those like really touchy topics, and so everybody just kind of want to play it safe and, you know, and just make sure that they not making anybody feel
CYA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I said, what other upcoming projects you got going?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah, so I'm not I can't go too much into detail about them, but the board that I showed earlier, that one's a holiday film that we're trying to get done for this holiday season, and I'm excited about that one because when we were first approached about it, I was like a holiday film, like, you know, because we see the same types of film, even when it's a different movie.
Friday
next. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes like the Hallmark Lifetime type, you know, and it's just like, okay, I get it's Christmas, but we see the same shit every fucking year, right? So I'm like, if we do
next
it,
Friday was Friday after next was a holiday film,
right?
Yes,
and
it is.
And that was the route that we took. We were like, because Friday After Next is one of those films, it's a holiday film, but you can watch it anytime, and it doesn't. Like, I can watch that shit now, and it don't feel like it's a Christmas movie, right? So that's the route that we took with this one. It's a film that's based around the holidays, but it doesn't feel like a holiday film, or it's like it can be watched at any time of the year. It's not the same, you know, girl from a small town moves to New York and comes back home for Christmas and falls in love again with her. It's not that same shit that we see every year. We were like, and that was the thing. They were like, you guys can have complete creative control. So we were like, okay, if we do it, we're not doing the same shit we see every year. They were like, make it happen. And so we definitely went a little bit of a different route, which is why I'm excited about it, because it's not the same shit that we see every year, you know? And then I'm also working on this one is more of a passion project for me, but I'm working on another series with two of my friends so I'm an EP on the show, and my other EPs, my friend Melissa and Tone. We all graduated from HBCUs, and so the show focuses on this child prodigy who's attending an HBCU, but it's kind of like getting in touch with her ancestors and like her spiritual side, and using that as like a superpower. And so I'm excited about that one, just because we're able to not only highlight, you know, Black culture, but we're also able to highlight HBCUs and their culture as well. And I think, you know, when you talk about like ancestors and like allowing your ancestors to be like your guiding light, shit like that, and niggas are like, oh, witchcraft, and it's like, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, I think it's been given such a negative, like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's not praised as much as it should be. And I think this show kind of challenges that, and so I'm excited to be a part of that for sure.
God damn, you hyped that one up good, dog. I'm looking forward to that shit.
I'm really excited about that one. We've already started pitching that one, and you know, getting some good feedback on it. So you know, we kind of are at those like final stages of development, and we'll be moving into pre-pro soon. So I'm pretty excited for that one as well.
Man.
Congratulations.
Man, most definitely congrats. Y'all already know how we fucking get down here at the TruVue Podcast, man. Y'all know what the fuck we always say.
Go watch some shit.
TruVue Podcast.
A bunch of different views.
Your boys keep it real, man. I really like listening to them, man. They funny. Yeah.
Son.
You know what I'm saying?
They really speak their truth. What the hell was that?
You're